Okay, so this is going to be part one of this healing series that I'm going to do for you guys. And I wanted to first start off by saying, I kind of explained in this previous post about why I want to focus on healing first. But I also want to do this in such a way that it's accessible to a lot of people. And while I highly recommend, utilizing a therapist, I understand that, and I'm going to be tagging military TikTok in all of these as well, because there's a large group of people in our country that really struggle to access any therapeutic resources because they may have a security clearance. And so I've seen this often with military personnel, cops, government employees, that they don't want to access therapy when they are having problems because they're afraid that it will impact their career. Now, that said, I've been a federal contractor and direct government employee, and I have a long history of, engaging with therapists, and it hasn't negatively impacted me. People have tried, right? But it hasn't been an issue for me. I still understand the concern. And unfortunately, outside of therapeutic resources, if, I typed in how to heal into the Google, and this is the kind of advice that you can typically find online. Try positive visualization, listen to soothing music, cut out unhealthy foods, start a gratitude journal, try gardening, right? Great advice, but also completely useless when you're actually trying to heal from, trauma, PTSD. If you go out into the garden, it's great. It may be relaxing in the moment, but I promise you'll still have trauma when you come back. So anyway, I kind of put together a list of what I'm going to focus on in this series. And so the very first thing, though, that I want to advise people to do and learn how to do on your own, and especially for empaths, is learn how to ground and protect. Now, there are lots of guided, meditations that you can find online, and particularly on YouTube. This one I like because Happy Twins 1111 is the creator on YouTube, and her name is Charlotte, and she does a lot of tarot readings. Okay, but I've worked with her personally as well, and it doesn't matter if you identify with twin flames or not. This is just a really good grounding and protection meditation, and basically it's good to do this at least once a day, and it's not necessarily going to be listening to this every day, right? But you'll learn how to do this on your own. And by learning how to ground and protect, that's going to be kind of the core to let you do some of this work, right? Because anytime that you're feeling triggered, that you're feeling a lot of stress and stuff like that, it's really good to be able to ground and protect yourself. And again, especially for empaths or highly sensitive people, right? We tend to absorb a lot of people's stresses, emotions, and kind of mental and emotional state. And when you're first starting this journey, you don't know how to separate your feelings from other people's feelings. So making this a part of your daily habit, as well as, this becoming a resource that you can rely on when you go into high levels of stress. I will also post a link for this in the comments. Okay, so the next thing is, I put therapeutic insights because, again, I think it's great if you can work with a therapist, but I understand that can be a challenge for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, right? Not just people with security clearances, but it can be very difficult to find a therapist that you personally connect with. And it is important that a therapist has a frame of reference that can accommodate you, right? Me being pagan and being a witch and having had a lot of these, strange mystical experiences, I couldn't have gone to, for example, a strongly religious therapist, right? If someone was, in the church, kind of religious, the lens that they may perceive me it would be entirely different than, a therapist that I've successfully worked with, right? And this also comes down to matters of race, background, all of that. That's again why representation is important. But it's, again, it's going to be less likely that if you're a Black woman that has, experienced, a certain kind of trauma, that, a white evangelical woman is going to be able to help you. Do you see what I mean? It's nothing against, if you have a religious background, then that's great. Maybe you can more easily connect with that person. And I will say that, churches often do offer, sort of therapeutic resources for their, congregation members. But again, that can be a little bit, it can be a little bit dicey, right? Because I do think that, within churches, there's a lot of deconstruction that's needed fundamentally from, religious upbringings. And so if that is a part of your healing journey, then that may kind of be a double-edged sword. And again, if you are looking for a therapist, I put this little infographic up, but you do want to look for someone that has maybe a similar kind of background. Personality fit is what they've used here. But, again, someone that has a frame of reference and go meet with them, right? Don't assume that if you meet with a therapist and have like a bad interaction, because that happens to people, right? It's not a good fit. It's not a good personality fit. Don't let that be the end of your road, right? Because there's lots of different kinds of therapists. But do look for their licensing, certifications, and education. If they have any specialty. And again, there are some therapists that may, be more willing, and they will normally put it in their bio if they're willing to work with LGBTQ, stuff like that. So you do want to be cognizant and look for people who are accessible for the issues that you have. Now, again, outside of therapeutic or a therapist, I've seen this, you've probably seen this going around TikTok a lot. This is on Amazon and just about everywhere, but there's the Shadow Work Journal. I haven't used this, okay? So I can't say that this thing is great, but what I've seen of it does look good. It's asking the right questions in terms of walking you through to identify, I put on here recognition of behavioral and relational patterns, right? Because, and we'll go through these one by one. This is, and I preface this is all messy, dirty, scary work, right? Because, for example, recognition of behavioral and relational patterns. I have had terrible relationships romantic relationships with men. Right. And at a certain point, I had to get real with myself about why that is. Why do I keep selecting essentially the same person in different bodies? Right. Because that's me. I'm allowing these people, and I'm not saying that you're responsible for the way that people treat you. Right. But we do get to decide who comes into our energy, who we spend our time with. And I was picking the same, kind of person over and over again that would just end up, doing really shitty things to me. And so, once you recognize a pattern, you can actually start to go to identifying the core or the source of the wounding, right? Why was I attracted to these particular people? What unmet needs did I have? And again, a lot of this relates back to childhood trauma. What unmet needs did I have that made me want something from that particular kind of person? And for me, that entailed, there's a lot of narcissistic, family dynamics. Okay. And so I was basically reliving that same cycle through these people repeatedly. I picked emotionally unavailable men that had narcissistic traits. I'll go ahead and make a next part today because I do want to cover the projection. But go to the next part.